You're trying to change yourself to say the line. Just say the line.
From here, I'll go alone. You go back.
Who are you talking to?
To him.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Okay. You want to present her the flowers, present her the flowers.
I want you to go back.
Don't repeat the line. You're not doing the scene.
Okay.
Hush, I said.
Open your jaw.
Hush, I said.
With your teeth?
No, you're doing the lines, Lacey. You are trying to do the scene. It's your job to address what's going on with you. Look, can you remember any of the things I said to do?
Yes. To interact, to stay with the objects and interact with them.
You know, you really haven't done that with those flowers
yet.
Take time with those flowers.
Okay.
And go ahead and say the next line. You don't have to mean it.
Take from my clean throat. This metal with a chain.
Who was it first went down the stairway?
The same hands, these that are yours, when I see them, would like to break.
When I was 6 years old, I found myself writing a puppet play, and then I invited kids. They paid 2 cents to get a ticket. It started there, and then eventually, every chance I had, I wanted to do a play, I wanted to act. I would love getting the attention from acting in high school. There was one time my family went out for a dinner, and when I went by the register, one of the girls who was a cheerleader, she said, "It's okay, you don't have to pay for your dinner. You were really good in that play." When my parents first learned that I wanted to be an actor, they weren't happy about it. And then when they saw me in a performance in my senior year of high school, I remember my father saying, "You have to be an actor, you should do it." And then I came to New York. I moved in with a college roommate. New York was rough, man, in the 70s. Crime was just everywhere on the street. I was a waiter for 2 or 3 years, but I got a couple of commercials.
Hi, Bobby. Your dad just get a new car?
Let's check it out. Dad, I come home, I want to see my friends, I never think of spending time with you and Mom.
To just talk about how I was first exposed to Buddhism. I was taking an exercise class, and a woman came up to me and started talking to me. She said, "You should chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo." And I said, "I don't want to hear about it." I had a really strong negative reaction to it. Leave me alone. And then I proceeded to watch my life get smaller and smaller and smaller. My apartment was tiny. The number of friends I had was tiny. My career had become tiny. I'd gone from being on Broadway to nothingness. But I had one friend, and we would commiserate about how terrible our lives were over a beer that we could barely afford. Then all of a sudden, my friend, who was an actor, he started working. A lot. I said, "What's going on?" He goes, "You're gonna think something's wrong with me." I said, "Okay, what is it?" He said, "I started chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo." And I said, Can I chant?" I went over to his house and I chanted for the first time. I didn't want to stop. And the next night I called Mark and said, "I'm ready. I want to get I called it a gazunka. He laughed. And he said, "Well, actually, it's called a gohanzen, but yeah, we can do that." So on August 18th, 1983, I received my gohanzen. When I first started practicing Nichiren Buddhism and chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, I started to feel hopeful. And I saw a lot of things change in my life very dynamically. But when I was about 30, 31, I felt that there was something missing. There was this constant up and down that I was experiencing. And I just felt that I could not really live that kind of life anymore. It wasn't making me happy. But I chanted that I could somehow move my life in a new direction. It was a January, and we didn't have internet then, so I walked around a cold, wet, snowy, icy city, dropping off every piece of paper that had my name on it and said I could do something. And then I got a phone call to come to an address, and I didn't even know where I was going. The person said, "Yeah, hi, can you come in?" And they didn't tell me to what, so I thought, well, okay, I'll just go. And I walked in, and it turned out to be an acting school. When I started teaching acting, I was absolutely terrified, and I was terrible at it. I was emulating the acting teachers of the day. I would yell at students and criticize them and embarrass them. I think I was pretty awful.
So how did your teaching style evolve?
My teaching style, this is where everything starts to become about my relationship with my mentor. In 1990. I was given the opportunity to meet Daisaku Ikeda. What happened was I realized what an extraordinary human being he is. And I turned to my friend and I said, there's something about him. And my friend said, yeah, what is it? I said, it's like he's a real human being. I really thought this is how a human being should be, full of compassion, without any pretense. I started studying President Ikeda's guidance more seriously. I came to the very quick understanding that I could completely trust Daisaku Ikeda. That was sort of the beginning of a new kind of Buddhist practice for me. Up until then, most of my Buddhist practice was more focused on, I need benefit. I need circumstances to improve. But I wasn't working very much toward how do I develop my humanity. I started thinking of Buddhism as a practice to see if I could be a great human being, not if I could be a great acting teacher. And the issues of arrogance and insecurity, those started to shift. And I felt I could talk to my students, not just in terms of here's how you can act that moment better, or here's an acting technique that can help you. I felt that I was starting to speak about how their lives and their art were one, and what things they needed to overcome as a human being so that as an artist they were able to function more. And I felt that if I tried to do it intellectually, it didn't work. I had to rely on my Buddhist practice to manifest my own humanity. I went from someone who was terrified to someone who was excelling in a very competitive business.
I've been studying with Larry for, give me a second to think about it. It's been a long time.
It's a little over 5 years.
Going on 15 years.
I started with Larry in '01.
It's been 13 years.
The way Larry interacts, it's colored by his Buddhist thinking. He has such a compassion for his students.
It seems like every person I've met in his class has become a friend. That's the day I look forward to the most every week, is getting to go to Larry's class and see all of these wonderful actors.
I don't know a lot about Buddhism. Actually, I don't know virtually nothing about Buddhism. But in that very first session, I did my monologue, a couple exercises, and he said, Alan, your whole process in becoming an actor will be about learning how to reveal yourself. And the image I always had is like literally like opening my chest up. And that one lesson is at the core for me of what it means to be an actor.
I had been in his class less than a year, I think, and he mentioned that he was a Buddhist. So after class, I went to him, I said, may I speak with you privately? He said, sure. And I said, you mentioned something about Buddhism. Can you tell me more about it? I'm interested. And he said, of course. And he sat down, he told me about Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. So that night, I went home, and that's the first time I really chanted. Chanting gave me courage, it gave me hope, it gave me strength. It changed my life.
I think actors have to face this thing where there's a lot of pressure on them to try to figure out what type they are or meet some kind of requirement. And I want them there, and I want them to leave there with, wait a minute, they want me. The world wants me. If I'm watching TV and there's a student of mine all of a sudden appearing in the show that I'm watching, it's a source of pride. That kind of stuff is really fun to see. If I want to be honest with you, I have even more joy in those moments in class where I see them go, oh, I see them get it. I see them go to a new level of acting, of capacity, of understanding of the craft. I get even more pleasure and joy from those maybe less visible successes.